I have a presentation that we will as well share with you, so you can use it in your practice or your uh, share with your colleagues. I just really ask to mute all participants, so it will be much more convenient for everyone. So you can use it for your practice, you can share it with your colleagues. I only ask not to publish it online because sometimes it's difficult to understand context if you cannot see the webinar. So it can be difficult for people. So I propose to start. You can write your questions in chat. Anastasiya, who help us technically today to moderate the questions, so I can answer all questions in the end. We will left maybe five minutes in the end to answer all questions. So I propose to start. My name is Anastasiya Dzyakava. I'm founder of the biggest in Ukraine educational and awareness raising project Stop Sexting. We work in the field of child online protection, especially protecting children from sexual online abuse and exploitation. As well, for 5 years, I worked in the Ukrainian government. First, I was in charge of child abuse protection in the team of children commissioner with the president of Ukraine. And then I became advisor to the government of Ukraine on e-safety in 2019. I initiated and lead reform on children online safety. So what we will talk today about, Ukrainian families as refugees, challenges, vulnerabilities, and support. So today I will try to do my best to explain you what reality Ukrainian people pass through before you start to work with them. So you will be able to understand more clearly what trauma these people can have and how you can help these people more effectively. But first of all, I would like to tell you about our organization, Stop Sexting, a little bit. So you will be able to understand what kind of questions or problem you can address to our organization if your clients with who you work will face some kind of such problem. So first of all, we launch helpline to support children and parents online safety issues. It's 24/7 free of charge. It's phone number from Ukraine. So you can recommend it to call people when they come back home, for example, or they can write us on Facebook or Instagram if they have some issues on children online safety. We have educated more than 700,000 children, parents, and teachers on children online safety, developed more than 30 educational programs, became winners of UN Global Compact Network during COVID period 2020, developed first in the world VR Quest and VR reality on children online safety. This year, we launched online psychological consultation. People can register on our website, even if they are living now in UK, they can fill in the form on our website, and I will share you a link a little bit further, and have free of charge 1 hour consultation with our psychologist on issues of children online safety. So it's one of the tools that can be already useful for you and your clients. And as well, we in Ukraine launched Internet Watch Foundation reporting portal. Moreover, we have chatbot on Telegram that you as well can recommend your clients. Stop Sexting bot. It's everything about child online sexual abuse and exploitation. We have published 2 books for children, 1 fairy tale and 2 books for adults. We have online course for parents, so these materials can be as well really useful even for refugees. Last year, we arranged advocacy campaign, so finally in Ukraine, giving and possession of child sexual abuse materials and grooming are criminalized. Moreover, we conducted researches, information campaign, conferences, have short film, and even our first cartoon. So if you will be interested in some of these materials and work with your clients, just let us know and we will share links with you. Of course, all of them in Ukrainian. This year, we as well arranged awareness raising campaign for parents, teachers, and children on online and offline during wartime. Provide months-long education for teachers, peer-to-peer support groups, lessons for schools in children, and a lot of other materials. But let's move to our topic. And when people ask how are you, for example, me, or how Ukraine is, or how Ukrainian is, it's really depends on where this people is and who this people is. I'm not talking about like, it's teacher or it's singer or a driver. No, it's mean who you are right now in this war, because this person can be refugee. This person can be internally displaced person, as we have a lot of in Ukraine now. This person can live on territory after occupation. For example, now, a few weeks ago, Kherson region was deoccupied. So we have a lot of people who lived in occupation for the last 8 or 9 months. So it can be people who lived in occupation and they have another kind of stress. It can be people who still living in occupation in Zaporizhia region or Donetsk or Lugansk region. As well, these people can be people who stay home as in western parts of Ukraine, but there are a lot of internally displaced people come from other regions. So it looked like our person stayed at home, but a lot of other people come to their home. And cities who expected to serve like 1 million people now should serve 2 million people. So it's mean as well some discomfort for people who still live there. It could be people from central part of the country, as Kiev is, for example. We don't have a huge amount of internally displaced people, but we have some of them. Together with these, we are partly territory after occupation. These people as well can live in conflict zone. So it's not territory and occupation, and it's not yet territory after occupation. It's somewhere in the middle, and it's really a hot spot because the most active war happens there, and a lot of children and adults live there in conflict zone as well. So these people face a lot of not only war challenges and risks, but they as well live in close contact with military people from Russia and from Ukraine, from both sides. It as well can be forcibly displaced to Russia people, and we have nearly 1 million of such person who was forcibly displaced to Russia, and a lot of them children, and it's very difficult for these people to come back home. And we have some quantity of people who voluntarily moved to Russia. It as well can happen. So you see, it's really difficult to answer the question, how are you? Because it's really depends on where I am and all this list. But what as well we have? The number of refugees from Ukraine since 24th of February is more than 12 million. Before the full invasion of Russia, we had population nearly 40 million. So we can see more than 1 in 4 people moved as refugee abroad. Mostly it was women with children. And I was at border in the beginning of March, and it was really heartbreaking picture when you can see one woman who take hands of her 2 children, and for 3 people, they have only 1 backpack, and all their life packed in only in this 1 backpack. So it's really big stress, not only to see these people, but of course to be this family whose life was totally broken. From these 12 million, 122,000 people became refugee in Great Britain. Of course, majority of refugees arrived to Poland because it was the closest border to Ukraine, the easiest to reach. And together with these, last month, we had 7 million of people who still are refugees. So 5 million of people came back, but 7 million still are refugees. And 93% of refugees who came to Great Britain stay there. It's about 114,000 people. So let's move forward. What refugees could face before arriving in the UK? First of all, we will start with you from deep trauma, the deepest trauma. House or village or town of these people can be bombed during this full invasion. For example, me and my family, we waked up at 5 a.m., 25th of February, because of bombing, because Russia bombed our city. So you can imagine how big stress it is to understand that your neighbor want to kill you and destroy all your life and all your family. And a lot of houses were destroyed. So people refugees can face not only bombing, but as well destroying of their houses and villages. As well, we have a lot of people and children as well who lost part of their body, uh, their or their loved one, like a mother or father or sister or brother. And of course, it's really big trauma, really big stress. As well, we have a lot of people who lost their loved one, or colleagues, or friends, or neighbors, especially during the first 3 months in Kiev region, Chernigiv region, Sumy region. It was first regions, and Kherson and Zaporizhia as well, of course. It was first regions who faced full invasion. So if you have refugee from these regions, Chernigiv, Sumy, Kharkiv as well, Kiev, Kherson, and Zaporizhia, be sure some of these people know someone who doesn't live anymore. So they can leave someone, lost someone in this war already. And as well, we have more than 10,000 of children who disappeared, or family can have members of family who disappeared. And it always big challenge to find disappeared person, but as well during wartime, it's crazy difficult to try to find disappeared people. What as well it could be if we talk about life experience. So people can lose their house or their property or all their belongings. Of course, it doesn't sound as harmful as risks from this slide. But anyway, when first shock pass, you understand that everything that you worked for the last 10, 20, 30, 50 years, you absolutely lost. And right now you have to start your life from the beginning. And it's really big stress, I will tell you. As well, a lot of people had experience of life in bomb shelter or in metro. Because in cities where we have metro, it's Kiev and Kharkiv as well, people lived for weeks in metro at platform with children, with dogs, with cats, with adult people. So it as well not the most nice experience to live in such places. Of course, millions of people lost their jobs and income resources, and it is well question how to survive, because Ukraine is not a really rich country, and according to research it was conducted before the war, usually people or don't have savings at all and live from salary to salary, or they have savings like for 1 month. But we have war now already for 10 months. So it means that they don't have any money to survive. Government provides some support, but it's really, really, really small. So it's question how family can survive if they don't have money. And especially in spring in Ukraine, we can see a big lack of food, medicine, and healthcare. And when in March, our colleagues from different countries called me and asked where they can transfer money so we can buy anything helpful for Ukraine. It was, it was sound like a joke, because you don't need money because you have nothing to buy. Like we don't have medicine, we don't have food, so it's great if we have money, but you cannot buy anything for this money because there's no products in pharmacy and in food store. Right now situation is stabilized, and we already have enough medicine, enough food, and thanks to incredible work of private sector and NGO sector and government. But that period can be a really big stress for people when you understand that this can happen and you can be in this luck, and you don't have food, or you don't have medicine, and you cannot help your child. Okay, let's move forward. What refugees could face before arriving in the UK more, and that's really shocking in 21st century. First of all, it can be life and occupation. And it's a challenge that few Ukrainian regions have faced. And it's a really big challenge, I will tell you. And I think that people who never lived in occupation can never, ever imagine what it looks like. Because you cannot speak your language. Sometimes you cannot leave your home at all. Your children cannot go to school and pass the Ukrainian education system because it's forbidden and it risks for your life. Military Russian people can come to your house and do anything they want. They raped our people, adults, but they as well rape children in front of their parents. So there are a lot of different abusive things that happen when people live in occupation. As well, it's life in conflict zone. It is well really big challenge because a lot of territories are in bombing from both sides sometimes, but as well it risks of mine risks, and a lot of people lost their lives or their hands or legs because of these risks. As well, Russia arranged filter camps, and you don't know when you pass these filter camps in the Zaporizhzhia region where your family will be sent. And we had a lot of situation when family was divided. So children sent one side and parents sent other side, and different people sent to different places in Russia. Or when people try to leave occupied territory, for example, in summer from Kherson region, they can spend for 4 days in queue in the middle of nowhere without any facilities, just sitting in car. And a lot of people really died because they was not able to survive during this passing these filter camps and this block post that Russia arranged. And we had a lot of cases when people passed this 4 days way to leave occupied Kherson to move to Ukrainian territory. But Russia told them, like on the last day at filter post, no, we will not allow you to move forward. But what's even worse, we had a lot of families who were killed by Russia on their way from one part of Ukraine to another during first weeks of Ukraine. Even cars that had a mark children or volunteers, a Russian army just started to kill these people just because they are Ukrainian. It doesn't matter how many children these families had in car. So it's really big challenge. In some Ukrainian regions, we still have big parkings where government brings all these cars where people were killed by Russia when children tried to move from Kiev, for example, to western part of Ukraine. So it was really like a road of evil, and it's really big challenge. And if you work with family who were able to survive and move during this first week of war from Kiev region, for example, to other parts and then to UK, you can think that these people have this really, really big stress. And as well, we have people who were forcibly deported to Russia. We have the whole families or children only, and it's really difficult to find these families, find these children, and for these people to come back home. Additional kinds of abuse. Sexual abuse of Russian soldiers, as I already mentioned, rapes, they raped adults, they raped children, they raped really old people. So it doesn't matter for them who this person is. Together with this, we understand that taking into account really high level of economical challenges in Ukraine now, and problems with employment, psychological challenges, challenges for mental health, for safety, all these challenges, as COVID previous year, all these challenges can raise the level of domestic violence. But together with this, we can see that people not such often report to police because they think that because of war, police will not work and investigate their cases. So when you work with family, you should take into account that as well can be a family who face domestic violence being in Ukraine. A lot of people, Ukrainians, face tortures in different variants by Russian army. And as well, a lot of people were forcibly involved in pro-Russia activities. Given information, they're blackmailed teachers, our children forced them to provide different military information. What can be additional vulnerabilities? Some families with who you can work now can have other part of family who can be military people now. It can be father, husband, brother, grandmother. So anybody can be military now. For example, my husband voluntarily became a military person. So for the last 9 months, he is military person, markman in Donbass, Donetsk region. So you can work with such families, and you can understand that it's additional stress and special attention should be paid for these families. As well, we have some families who were impossible to evacuate because their family members not evacuated. Why? Because of healthcare issues. So some families have grandmother or grandfather who is impossible to be moved to other part of Ukraine, not even talking about moving to other countries. Or part of the family stayed in occupation. My husband, part of family, his mother and father lived in occupation for 9 months in Kherson region. So it's as well additional stress because usually you cannot contact with this person. Russia tried to destroy all telecommunication and internet facilities. So you cannot get any information and just live in total stress and worry about your family who live in occupation. As well, it can be psychological traumatization by issues that you can see, crimes that you can see. So people who became victims of rapes, of torture, or killing other people, or death of other people, of course, it's really, really, really deep psychological trauma. And as well, we had a lot of people, especially in occupied territory, who provide their house as shelters or became volunteers. They helped like by medical support, by provision, transportation and evacuation services, by medical support. So you can as well work with people who became volunteers or provided their houses as shelter. What other problems Ukrainians can face today? It's really strange to talk about this in 21st century. Right now, I'm reading a biography of a US president, especially Roosevelt and Lincoln, and it sounds like normal that not all parts of US had electricity 100 years ago, but for 21st century in the middle of Europe, it sounds like a basic that we should have electricity. But right now, I conducting this education for you at my house. I don't have electricity since 9 a.m. and for today, I had it only for 4 hours, since 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And I don't know when the government will be able to turn on electricity again. So for the last 2 months, as Russia bombed all our electricity system and totally destroyed. So we have regular blackout And it means that you not only don't have electricity and you cannot charge your gadget or something like this, you cannot cook your food, you don't have warming at home. Some houses during lack of electricity don't have water or hot water, and heat and warming, of course, as well. You don't have elevator, and for people with disability or old people or people with children, go up and down from 19th floor on 25th floor. It's really big challenge. In Ukraine, we have a lot of tall buildings, so it's really big challenge to live without electricity. But the biggest challenge, it means that when you don't have electricity, you don't have internet. So Ukraine trying to find some tools, again, generators, some other big power banks to stay in touch. But not having electricity means you don't have connection with the world, and you don't have as well access to bomb alarm. So if you don't have electricity, you don't even know that Russia tried to bomb us right now. So it is well reality that we are living right now, like this minute. So you have to take into account these risks as well. Okay, move forward. Next challenges, external. Some of people who move from Ukraine to abroad, refugees, for the first time in their life abroad. So they don't know even how does it look to move to other country, and usually they as well don't have skills of any other language except Ukrainian. So of course they don't speak English, and it's really big challenge. They can face risks of abuse from host side, shelters, drivers, host family. It can be sexual abuse, it can be physical abuse, or material financial abuse. When hosting family force refugees to give money to host, otherwise they will reject to be host. As well, we can see bullying of children and adults in society, people who became refugee. For example, my friends who became refugee with her 1-year-old child in Germany near Berlin, he 3 times was refused in bookshop to buy books of how to study Germany because she is refugee. So, and it's really like a standard things that a lot of my friends with small children who became refugee can face. A lot of people reject to rent flat for refugee because according to national legislation, they really worry that if refugee will not have money to pay, they will be forbidden, this hoster, to take their flat back. And of course, often or even always, refugees have lower level of job offers. So it is well questions that we have to think about. In Poland, for example, I can see that a lot of refugees work on really basic position. Shop sellers, cashier, taxi drivers, dishwashers, waitress. And it's really big question what kind of profession and qualification and skills these people had before war, and of course level of income and level in society, and what kind of job they are forced to do now just to have any chance to survive. What are the challenges internal? First of all falling of income level. First of all, because of this lower level of jobs, but together with these other level of prices. This autumn, I was in London at Mary Collins Foundation conference with presentation about refugees. And I can honestly tell you that the UK is crazy expensive country. And if we compare prices in Ukraine and in UK, plus take into account falling in income, it means that it's really big fall in level of life for these people. What we can see here. As well, really often we have family separation because for men it's forbidden now to leave the country because of war in the country. So majority of refugees is women with children. So it means that for the last 10 months or a little bit more, it's been when the family moved, it depends. We have family who was divided. So father stayed in Ukraine and mother with children lived abroad in UK, for example. What does it mean? First of all, it's really big for this family as institution. It's really big stress for mother, father, and children. But together with this, mother has a lot of additional work, like a homework, issues with children education, a lot of challenges that mother should resolve for the first time. And a lot of mother had to go to work. Maybe being in Ukraine, they were like a home mothers, but right now they have to be mothers and they have to go to work. So it's really, really, really big challenges for families to be separated and be refugees. And as well, challenges in cultural and language and bureaucracy adaptation. I think that the bureaucracy issues big challenges sometimes for UK people, but for people like who became refugees, it doesn't, without any understanding of cultural mentality, language, it's really like a nightmare and disaster. Yeah, and as well take into account always constant psychological pressure. Why? Worry about the country because Ukraine is regularly bombed by Russia. Worry about the family members who can be in occupation, conflict zone, military person, disappeared person, or be in captivity. We as well have a lot of people, not only military people, but as well civilian, medical person who are in captivity now. As well, take into account different stages of losing emotions, grief, anger, depression, etc. So, yeah, I'm sure you know psychology really well. These stages sometimes go one by one, but sometimes they go all together or in absolutely other period, or you can have until grief like 10 times during months. So take into account that there are different stages during different times. And as well, all refugees feel a really deep isolation because of social contact destruction. Not only adults, but children as well, because of a lot of social contracts were destroyed. People move to other country, they are lost their contact in their communities, in their work, or in their schools. So really deep social isolation. And it's really rarely when refugees communicate together and meet together. So if you have any chance to arrange some issues to allow people, Ukrainian refugees, meet together and arrange something for them, it will be really valuable. And one more thing, emotional and psychological exhaustion. It's difficult to comment here because for the first few days, few weeks, we expected that the war will end in few days, or in few weeks. But right now it's already 10 months that we are living in full invasion in third world war, and nobody knows when it will finish. So we are really emotionally and physically exhausted, and it as well should be taken into account. As well, people who move from one country to another are in really big risk of being human trafficking victims. First of all, on their way from Ukraine, they can be victim of labor or sexual exploitation or human trafficking for other regions, for organs, for example. They can be victims in the country during search for their work or at work. I mean, in UK, for example, or in Poland. It can be labor or sexual exploitation at work. It can be in the country as the host family. It can be labor exploitation or sexual exploitation of children as well in hosting family. and it can be in the country at home. So what does it mean? For example, person live in UK and can be exploited online in online prostitution, in pornography production, in child sexual abuse materials production. So it can be in a way of coercion or grooming, or it can be a case when people cannot find the work or earn enough money to survive. People can accept these offers as well. So we should think about this and take into account these risks of trafficking. What else? Online traumatization. First of all, it can be cyberbullying of children or of adults as well who moved from the country and became refugees, and they can be bullied by people in other country, or they can move from people from Ukraine because these people became refugees and these people stayed. All of us now face a huge amount of harmful content, and it's really psychologically harmful for children and for adults as well. And a lot of Ukrainian children and adults are targeted by Russian soldiers in they're trying to find and clarify military information. So some geolocation of electricity facilities or military facilities, or where our army bases are situated. And our sources told that up to 80% Russia army find information online. So it's as well a question what we publish online and what Russia forced our people to provide online. So what we can do with all of this? First of all, we have to work with trauma-informed management. When we see Ukrainian refugee, child or adult, even if he or she look normal, as me now, I hope, we should be sure that absolute majority of these people have big trauma, emotional trauma. Every kid, every woman, every family are vulnerable group and should be treated as vulnerable. What else kind of steps we can help and what we can do? We could and should provide for every refugee family in our region or city or community home visit by social workers. I have already mentioned for you a lot of risks in mental health, in human trafficking, in abuse. So it's really important to understand situation from inside. We as well should provide additional attention from teachers' sides. Schools and kindergarten. They work in classes where refugee children can be, and they can scan for abuse, exploitation, and deep psychological trauma. As well, here we should take into account that sometimes people work with children and family and see some signs and think, oh, it's because they are refugee. But these signs as well can be because person became a victim of trafficking or abuse being already in the country. So it can be not result of trauma because of war in Ukraine. It can be additional trauma or risks or problem that happen in the country. So be really careful and take out all your bias. Try to go deeper to the situation and understand the reasons and how you can help. We as well could involve schools and inspire them to provide additional support for refugee family from school side, help in adaptation, psychological consultation, educational help, like adaptation in community. It's really, really important. Additional attention from healthcare workers on abuse scanning and reporting. So we can involve not only our colleagues in educational systems, but our colleagues in healthcare system as well. We as social workers and community workers can as well help people with safe and appropriate level of job offers. There are a lot of opportunities now to work online, even in Ukraine companies, and it's really unexpected and interesting fact that IT industry in Ukraine during wartime even raised from 20 to 40% if we compare with the previous year. So there are a lot of opportunities to study and work online in Ukrainian companies in IT sector even now. So try to find these opportunities, use Google Translator and help people to have a great job. And as well, you can provide recommendation for host on cultural difference and how to host refugees, as psychological background of refugees and refugees' current challenges. Because sometimes it's really big challenge for hosters families as well, because they think that refugees is the same as like a host my grandmother or my neighbors or my ex-co-students. No, host refugees, absolutely different issues. Even if they look similar as you look, it's people with different background, different emotional problems. So it's really important to provide this information for hoster families. What else we should take into account and what else we can do? Not to confuse VARP, psychological trauma, and sign of abuse and exploitation. Less pressure on assimilation. We are really grateful, but the majority of families plan to come back home. So not press these people to assimilate. No stigma for this from the society that this is window of opportunity for Ukrainians to move to Europe. We have good enough level of life in Ukraine, and the majority of people plan to come back home. And if you can see already, 12 million of people became refugees in 24 February, but 5 million of them already came back home. And from this rest 7 million, the majority as well plan to come back home, not plan to stay in Europe. So no stigma, please. It's not window of opportunity for Ukrainian to move to Europe. And try really listen without any bias and try to really understand the people who are in front of you. And of course, children interest should be in the center. I see that we have 5 minutes more left. So if right now you have some questions, please write this in the chat. So I will understand whether we need additional few minutes for questions or I have 5 minutes to end our presentation. Thank you. What else we can do and how to protect Ukrainian refugees? First of all, provide additional information on possible risks on every point of contact with refugee. Registration center, phone contacts and phone calls, shelters, home visits, provide additional information of where these people can come with their challenges or their question. Try to become like a tutor for these people. See refugees as one more vulnerable group and try to think about what you can do. So we know what's vulnerable family. So try to see refugees as vulnerable family just because they are vulnerable, they are refugee. So refugee mean vulnerable, and try to adopt and apply all your checklists that you will use with your vulnerable families, what you will use it with refugee families as well. Establish contact and collaboration with Ukrainian NGO. They have cultural understanding and you have access to refugees. So I mean, something similar that we have now, when we can share with you some additional information, but we don't have direct access to refugees. But you have this access, so you can use this knowledge, this information in your work with refugees. For example, we developed such PDF material. It's in Ukrainian, and you can print it out and give it to people, Ukrainian refugees with who you work. You can download it, scanning this QR code, and for free download and print out how many you need and share online, offline, in any way. What this booklet is about? It's named Ukrainians Abroad, Security During the Crisis. And this booklet includes immigration and mental health, child mental health during immigration and refugee, how to protect yourself from inappropriate content during wartime, relationship on the internet, what critical criteria can be used to identify online criminals, how to protect child from situation of sexual exploitation online, what are the signs of excessive online time in children and adults. So it's not really big, it's up to 10 or 15 pages, but it can be really, really, really useful for refugees. Some links that you can share with refugees as well. First of all, it's all can be used online, so you can scan it and share with your Ukrainian colleagues, Ukrainian people who you serve. The online platform Tell Me provide psychological support, psychological support centers, well, OBIMI. Masha Foundation provides psychological support. Poruch as well, one of psychological support line. Free psychological helpline in Great Britain for Ukrainians as well. You have number, and several chatbots on Telegram, Friend, Elomia, and Stop Sex, and that I already told you. So all these contacts you can share with Ukrainians, and they can use it. It's psychological and informational support. As well, in our team, we arranged blogs in English. It's all about children online safety. It's less about refugees, but maybe it will be interesting and useful for you. So we really invite you to scan this QR code and read it. And our my social media, LinkedIn and Twitter, if you want to find more information, and my email if you will need some additional information or some links or something like this. That's all for today. And we have a few seconds for questions. So just please let me know if you have any questions. And if it was useful or interesting for you or something new that you get, I will be really thankful if you can give some few seconds feedback or write in the chat whether you have some questions or feedback. So no questions, no feedback.
Thank you, Anastasia. That's been really, really helpful. Oh, got a comment there from Judith. She said, "Thank you so much. It was really helpful, and we'll make a lot more aware of when talking to refugees."
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, John. Yeah, I hope that it was interesting. I want to tell that it was inspiring, but it's really difficult to be inspiring during such a big humanitarian crisis in wartime. But I hope that inspire you to see the situation broader and deeper together, and to understand the reality of refugees with who you work, and inspire you to pay more attention to these people and understand their reality. So we will be really, really happy to share with you presentation, and if you will need some additional information, please let us know. And the only one ask, please share this webinar and presentation, additional information with all your colleagues with who you can share, and talk about these issues and discuss it, so people can deeply understand the challenges that Ukrainians face and help these people. And it, I think, will make communication much easier.
Yeah, so we've got a query about when the link will be available. I believe the link's available more or less immediately, just as soon as YouTube's finished processing the simultaneous casting of the presentation as well. Is that right?
Yeah, it's simultaneous translation on YouTube. So just please let me know. I think you have already linked to YouTube, so you can watch it there. And we already have sent the presentation. So colleagues who need it, you can openly share it. And if you need some additional information, just let us know. And thank you so much for incredible and really valuable and important work you do, and for the whole Great Britain nation who help us. I think that people who survived during a really massive bombing in Second War really can understand what Ukraine passed through, because Russia tried to implement the same strategies that Germany realized against Great Britain in the Second War, just to bomb infrastructure, bomb civil buildings. Russia tried to implement it against Ukrainians. So thank you so much for your understanding, for your support. It's really, really, really crucial for us. We will never be able to be such strong and survive for 10 months if we are alone in this battle. So thank you so much.
Thank you for giving the presentation.
Okay, we will be in touch. I hope you to have a really good day, and I hope that soon we will be able to come back with good news that we finally win this evil and can live free, and our people can come back home. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.